development of India is not going to be done by corporate social responsibility, CSR funds. I was just checking the funds, possibly it's about 20,000 crores in a year, will vary from year to year depending on the profitability. It's a very minuscule portion of what is the total development funds of all the state, central and state governments. So don't look that CSR fund is going to change the whole of India. In companies, we look upon corporate social responsibility, and I think there is, after listening to Bhaskar Chachaji, there is a difference in opinion. In the companies, we are looking at how do we use this in one sense to improve in one sense the image of the company. We are also looking at in terms of how do we ensure that companies are able to do well, better. Because we work, as somebody mentioned, you work in remote areas, somebody's land has been acquired, and therefore there is some work which is to be done to make sure that the cost of his loss of land is sort of partly compensated by what I call as corporate social responsibility activities. And I will just mention 2 or 3, because I think the important thing to understand, we live in a very, what I call as theoretical framework, but the actual life in the field is, you may like to say that all companies, and I have been chairman of 2 CSR committees, we set up a CSR policy, and by and large the CSR policy is that we should do such work in areas around our companies, primarily to improve the image of the company among the general populace around the companies. So if that is the primary aim, and in many CSR policies which have been put on the website as per the norms, that has been the policy which has been adopted. So we can't, so many, what should I say, schemes for NGOs which were being done by companies 500 kilometers away because somebody knew the chairman, somebody knew the chairman's wife, somebody knew some HR managers, contacts and so on and so forth. Those sort of NGOs were suddenly found themselves that they're not going to get any further funding because this is the CSR policy, and some of those are getting actually wound down because we have said this is not part of the CSR policy. And I think it's something which the government has to say, no, in spite of all this, please go ahead and do something 500 kilometers away, even if it has nothing to do with the company. Even though it may be a good project. It may be a good project for that particular area, but that's totally discretionary at the level of the company management. Those discretionary aspects are slowly being brought down in at least the 5 or 6 companies that I'm involved with, and I think possibly it is being done in many others. The other thing is, we live in a democracy, we live in a dynamics of what I call as local pressures. And you will find that local managers, local company heads, etc., come and say, look, the local MLA, the local MP, the local panchayat president, etc., come and say, look, can you do something for us here? And therefore, sometimes it becomes almost inevitable that we help out. And we have kept this in many of the company policies to say that there is a 5 to 10% of funds which are earmarked, not put in the entire thing, which local managers can use to, shall I say, keep the local powers that be in good humor and, shall I say, a positive attitude towards the company. That's the reality. We live with that. If we don't do that, the local MLA might, start a blockade, start a trade union agitation, whatever it is. So you have to keep all these aspects into view. What we've also seen is that many companies have set up what is called their own local foundations. You've got Tata Foundation, you've got Adani Foundation, you've got different foundations, and the CSR money, in fact, is actually being transferred to these Adani foundations. The foundations are actually also doing quite reasonably good work. I mean, many people are not aware of, like the Adani Foundation in the Mundra area. I think it is something which government can really take pride of and should, I think, adopt it for everybody. Because all people in the entire Mundra area, once they cross the age of 60, whether they are employees or in the villages not employees, are given universal free health insurance. So there is no health cost to be borne by anybody above the age of 60 in the Mundra area. The hospitals are there. If they have to go outside, the entire cost is met by the company. So these are some issues. We've had, when I was in HPCL, we've got an NGO which actually runs for disability claim. They run a school, they run a very good, which is really in one sense not very close to where HPCL is. But purely because of the quality of the work done by this NGO, we've actually, as a special case, you might put it in the CSR committee, we've said that we've been funding this. We would like other donors to come in, but till such time as other donors come in, we will continue to fund this NGO for the foreseeable next 5 to 10 years. So that type of individual decisions are also taken by companies. We also have a dilemma in certain companies, and I'm just giving an example, where one of the companies I deal with, in the villages around it, the entire water supply scheme is run by the company. It is something which is normally a function of the state to provide water to the villagers. But from years ago, when the company first came into the area, the company was the only, you want to say, Maa-Baap in that area. The company provided the water to the villagers. And it continues to be. We've been telling the state government, please, this is your job. We are not in the business of providing water to the villagers outside our company. But the state government has said, look, we are short of funds, you are doing it, please continue to do it. It becomes something which you have to continue to do because you can't stop water supply to the villagers, in spite of it's not the job, it's not the objective of the company which manufactures something quite different, but you have to continue, and therefore that's a committed expenditure every year which is going up because you have to set up more taps, more quantity of water, replenishment, maintenance, and so on and so forth. So these are the type of, shall I say, opportunities, but the type of different aspects. It's not one straitjacketed approach, but one which we have to work with on a day-to-day basis, depending on the problems that come up, and companies are actually coping with it on a day-to-day basis, year to year. I think that I'll stop here, and when questions come, I'll answer that. Thank you.